If you're thinking about buying a car right now, you need to hear this. Car prices in the US are about to shift faster than most people expect, and it doesn't matter if you drive a Toyota, Ford, Tesla, or BMW. New trade and manufacturing policies are already impacting prices, financing, and availability. In this video, I'll break down what's changing, which cars could get more expensive, and how this could affect your next purchase. Buying a car in the United States has become one of the most frustrating financial decisions for everyday Americans. New car prices have surged past $47,000 on average, while used car prices have jumped anywhere from 30 to 50% depending on the state. This didn't happen overnight. Supply chain breakdowns, global chip shortages, rising inflation, and aggressive interest rate hikes all collided at once. The result? Fewer cars, higher prices, and worse loan terms. Many buyers were forced to delay purchases, overpay, or accept financing that stretched their budgets thin. But just when things started to feel stable again, another shift is coming, and it could move prices faster than most people expect. The policy shift that's changing the market again. Recent economic actions tied to trade policy and domestic manufacturing are beginning to reshape the auto industry. The focus is simple: reduce reliance on foreign suppliers and encourage more vehicles to be built inside the United States. While this sounds like a manufacturing issue, the financial impact is massive. Cars are among the most globally connected products in the world. A single vehicle can contain parts sourced from dozens of countries. When trade rules, tariffs, or import regulations change, pricing reacts almost immediately. Why some cars will get more expensive? Not all vehicles will be affected equally by the changes unfolding in the automotive market. While headlines often suggest that car prices are rising, the reality is far more selective and far more strategic. The biggest price pressure will fall on vehicles that rely heavily on overseas production, complex supply chains, and imported components. Cars built outside the United States, particularly luxury European brands and certain Asian manufacturers, are positioned at the center of this shift. Brands such as BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and some high-end Japanese and Korean models depend on global manufacturing networks that stretch across multiple countries. When trade policies change, tariffs increase, or domestic manufacturing incentives are introduced, these international supply chains become more expensive almost overnight. Tariffs are not just abstract policy tools, they directly increase the cost of doing business. When tariffs are placed on imported vehicles or components, manufacturers face higher production costs before a car even reaches a dealership. Add rising shipping expenses, fuel costs, insurance, and compliance regulations, and the final price begins to climb rapidly. These increases don't stay hidden within corporate balance sheets for long. Eventually, they reach the consumer. Dealers respond in predictable ways. Sticker prices rise. Manufacturer incentives quietly disappear. Low-interest financing becomes harder to qualify for. And perhaps most importantly, availability tightens. When it becomes more expensive to import or manufacture certain vehicles, companies often reduce supply to protect margins. That reduction creates longer wait times, fewer options on the lot, and less flexibility for buyers. Luxury vehicles are particularly vulnerable because their pricing already includes thinner margins for negotiation. Unlike mass-market cars, luxury brands rely on brand positioning rather than volume discounts. When costs increase, there is little room to absorb the impact internally. The result is higher MSRP, fewer promotions, and a noticeable shift in buyer leverage from the consumer back to the seller. Asian manufacturers that rely on overseas production may face similar pressure, especially for models not currently assembled in U.S. plants. Even brands known for affordability can be affected if key components such as engines, electronics, or battery systems are sourced internationally. A car may be partially assembled domestically, but if critical parts are imported, cost increases still ripple through the final price. What many buyers don't realize is that these changes don't stop at new vehicles. The used car market is deeply connected to new car supply. When fewer imported vehicles enter the market, demand shifts to existing inventory. That demand drives up prices on used imported cars, especially well-maintained or low-mileage models. Over time, even vehicles already on the road become more expensive, not because they improved, but because replacements became harder to find. For buyers, this creates a difficult environment. Negotiating power weakens as supply tightens. Dealers are less willing to discount vehicles they know are becoming more expensive to replace. Trade-in values may rise slightly, but that benefit is often offset by higher purchase prices. What looks like a fair deal on paper may still represent a higher overall cost compared to previous years. Timing becomes critical. Buyers who delay without understanding these dynamics risk entering a market where prices have already adjusted upward. Meanwhile, those who move without preparation may rush into decisions without fully understanding which vehicles are most exposed to price increases. Electric vehicles represent one of the most complex and misunderstood segments of the modern market. While the narrative around EVs often focuses on innovation, sustainability, and long-term growth, the reality is far more nuanced. EV pricing and adoption are not driven by consumer demand alone, they are shaped by supply chains, geopolitical strategy, industrial policy, and regulatory decisions that can shift with little warning. At the core of the EV cost structure lies the battery. Batteries account for a significant portion of an electric vehicle's total price, and their production depends heavily on lithium, cobalt, nickel, and other rare earth materials. These resources are unevenly distributed across the globe and are often sourced through fragile international supply chains. Any disruption, whether from trade tensions, export restrictions, or geopolitical conflict, can quickly ripple through the EV market, affecting prices and availability. This is where domestic production becomes a critical wild card. A strategic push toward localizing battery manufacturing and vehicle assembly could materially change the competitive landscape. US-based manufacturers that produce domestically may benefit from reduced logistics costs, greater supply chain resilience, and preferential treatment under government policy. Over time, this could translate into lower effective costs and stronger pricing power. In contrast, foreign EV manufacturers relying on overseas production face increasing pressure. Tariffs, transportation costs, currency fluctuations, and regulatory barriers can erode margins or force higher prices on consumers. Even technologically strong brands may struggle to remain competitive if structural costs rise faster than consumer willingness to pay. In this environment, efficiency and proximity to market matter just as much as innovation. Government incentives further complicate the picture. Tax credits, rebates, and subsidies have played a significant role in accelerating EV adoption, but these incentives are not permanent guarantees. They are political tools subject to shifting priorities, budget constraints, and changes in leadership. A policy that benefits buyers today can be revised, reduced, or eliminated tomorrow. This uncertainty creates hesitation for consumers and adds risk for manufacturers building long-term pricing strategies around government support. For buyers, this means timing matters. Purchasing decisions made under one incentive structure may look very different under another. For manufacturers, reliance on subsidies instead of cost efficiency can become a vulnerability. Companies that fail to achieve competitive pricing without government support risk losing momentum if policy winds change. The EV market is also uniquely exposed to regulatory fragmentation. Environmental standards, sourcing requirements, and domestic content rules vary across regions, creating a patchwork of compliance challenges. Companies operating globally must navigate multiple regulatory environments simultaneously, increasing complexity and cost. Those that align early with stricter standards may gain an advantage, while others face costly adjustments later. Ultimately, the electric vehicle sector is not a straightforward growth story, it is a strategic chessboard. Success will not be determined solely by technological superiority or brand recognition, but by supply chain control, geographic positioning, and policy awareness. Investors and consumers who treat EVs as a guaranteed trend risk underestimating the volatility beneath the surface. The companies most likely to succeed are those that anticipate structural shifts rather than react to them. They build resilience into their supply chains, reduce dependency on unstable inputs, and plan for multiple policy outcomes instead of betting on a single favorable scenario. In the EV market, adaptability is not optional, it is the defining competitive edge. Car prices aren't just about the sticker. Interest rates matter more than most people realize. Even a small increase in financing rates can add thousands of dollars over the life of a loan. As economic expectations shift, lenders adjust fast. Dealers often rush promotions early then tighten terms later. Buyers who don't understand this timing end up paying far more than expected. These changes aren't political talking points, they're real financial signals. They affect what you pay, how you finance, and when you should buy. Staying informed gives you leverage. If you understand where prices are heading, you can avoid overpaying, negotiate better terms, and time your purchase smarter. If this breakdown helped, hit like, subscribe for real financial insights, and comment CAR if you want to follow up on smart car buying strategies.